First of all, I want to thank all of our Spartan fans for coming out today. I thought it was a great crowd. Also had a great experience at our youth clinic. Had over 1,100 young people there along with their families, so had about 5,000 people out in the back in our practice facility and such. So thought they had a great experience, and our players extended themselves. I thought it was a great day for our fans and for our players and for our young fans. So with that being said, focus here is on the football game. That's where our focus is. It's tough to evaluate the game when you're watching it from behind like that, but I saw some good things. I thought Lewerke threw the ball effectively, had 2 picks, but threw the ball down the field effectively and made some nice throws, had some great catches. Tristan Jackson obviously had a number of catches. I thought Justin Lane and Cam Chambers made a couple, so I can't keep it all straight. As far as running the football, Madre London had a couple big runs, and Holmes was steady in there as well. But you have to be consistent in the game of football. You have to be able to play with a lot of power. You have to be able to play with a sense of change of direction and things like that. And so as you watch the film, defensive guys close on it, and offensive guys make plays, and there are about 1,000 things for each position that need to go well. So I'll just take some questions and get out of here.
Mark, you normally would do the player draft, but you did offense, defense. Which, as a head coach, do you prefer?
I think you get more out of it like this from a coaching standpoint. So there's a reason to do that. That's how we scrimmage in a lot of ways. But I think the draft is also good because it allows you to pick the players, and then you have more of a game-type situation, and there's just a little bit more flow to the game maybe. But we lost a lot of seniors this year. We had 2 guys go out early, so we lost numbers. So from that standpoint, our numbers were a little bit down. So, you would have had guys with no backup playing one side or the other, and didn't want to do that. We wanted to be able to work our 2s in there with our 1s or however we work it, so that there was depth on either side. But to me, it's always about trying to make it as competitive as I can, and our games have always been competitive.
Coach, you've been trying to build a young receiving core here over the last couple of years with some solid recruits. A name that stands out to me you haven't talked about yet is Hunter Rison. To have him on campus early, this stage of his development, what he's shown you so far, how would that compare to the development of, say, a year ago, Corley Chambers, guys that have come through the program before?
Well, I haven't talked about a lot of people. True, huh? So, but Hunter's had a nice spring. I think he's very functional. To me, functionality is a big part of everything. You've got to know what to do and then be able to take steps forwards in that capacity. And he's able to do that. He can get on the field. He can catch the football. He almost made a great catch on a corner route. He runs good, crisp routes, and he's a competitor. So he's going to show up next year for us on the field, I think, on game day. I think without question.
Mark, considering the way last season ended, all the other stuff that's been going on, to be able to get out and play today, especially for the guys here. I know you talked about it a little bit the other day, but what did it mean for them, I guess, to finally just get out there and play some football a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the issues at hand, but, when things happen negatively for a group of people, they normally bind together and they go forward. And that's what our football team has done. And that's what we've done every single practice throughout spring. And we're 13 through. We have 2 more practices, and we'll get a lot out of those practices. So, but I think we've had a good, solid spring. We've played a lot of people. A lot of people have gotten reps, and that's a big positive for us. And we're playing a lot of live. We're doing a lot of things live. So there's, it's one thing to tag off. You don't know whether they can make the tackle or they cannot. It's another thing when people are hanging on you, or you're having to tackle a guy and get him down in space. It becomes much more real.
Mark, I was just wondering how you could assess Brian's growth throughout the spring, and have you had enough healthy quarterbacks to really have a competition and assess those guys?
Well, you saw our quarterbacks today out there that we're playing. We've had our quarterbacks playing in there, but I do think that he's much improved. He's still going to mess up signals and call the wrong play when it's supposed to be a different play, and those type of things, which are elementary mistakes that he will get past. But I think he's progressed very well. He can throw the ball. What he has a great ability to run the football too. I feel he's a good athlete. He's poised back there, and every time he takes a snap in an environment where there's people there or something of that nature, he's going to get better and better and better. And there's always a little bit of a learning curve, but I think he's a good player. I also think our other quarterbacks are good players too, but right now he's the guy.
Mark, on a positive note, have there been any walk-ons that got scholarships this offseason?
We awarded Kenny Willicus scholarship, and Kenny sort of reminds you a little bit of a Marcus Rush, but he's been playing for us, and this is his third year. So he's a guy that's going to go 100 miles an hour. He's a good athlete, and he's made plays for us, and so we took the opportunity, gave him one. Also, Colin Lucas and Dylan Alexander are guys that have been put on at mid-year as well. Colin Cathlish as well. So we have awarded some scholarships to those guys for this semester, and then they got to fight it out in August. So, but we have given them aid through the fall. I mean, through this spring, and then at the end of that, we're always going to take care of our guys who play the best, systematically.
Mark, I know this is kind of one of those things. Do you have any changes on your coaching staff going into this throughout the spring? Have you made any moves with that?
And our full-time coaching staff?
Yes, full-time staff.
Mark Snyder is coaching the defensive ends. I felt like at this point in time we needed to take our defensive line because of the player-coach ratio. What you have right now is you have so many run-pass option plays where there's a run-pass conflict that the defensive ends really start to be coached differently than the inside players. So I felt like we needed to go from a 15-to-1 ratio to more of a 7 or 8-to-1 ratio. And they work collectively together, but they meet separately because what we're seeing now from an offensive perspective demands them to be coached differently. And so we've made that transition. Tressel's coaching the linebackers, so we're back to him coaching the linebackers, which he's always been very involved in, obviously. And I mean, we got 4 defensive coaches. They're all coaching a position every single day. But we have done that.
Is Mike still co-defensive coordinator?
Yes.
Mark, towards the end of the game, you were obviously having a little bit of fun out there with the mic, trying to extend the game and all that. Just with how last season ended, and were the guys especially charged up to get out there today and kind of show the fans what they've been working on all spring compared to past years, maybe?
I think we've come out every year to play in spring games and played hard, so I can't really say that. We've come out every day in practice, and we have taken a very workmanlike attitude towards it. We've extended, we've been working at this since February, the 25th maybe, something of that nature. So we've been at it for a while, and that's a positive thing because when you work and you systematically work at it, you're going to get better. And so that's what we have to do, and we challenge our players every single day.
Mark, 15 players weren't in uniform that were on the roster. Can you provide any clarity on the other 12 and why they weren't in uniform?
I'm sorry?
15 players were not in uniform.
Okay.
3 were suspended. That's been announced.
Math degree out.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you like to provide any clarity on the other 12?
No, because we don't talk about injuries, and obviously we're not talking about any other suspensions.
Talking about football itself was a little bit trivial. Why was it important to play this game publicly and have it on TV this week for you guys?
I think that we need to move on the moment. I think we needed to move forward. I told our players the other day that we're going to step into the light, and time marches on. This is a big program, and it's a serious situation and all that, but we need to move forward, and our players deserve it, and our fans deserve it. So there's always a lot of excitement and anticipation when you go out there in the spring for everybody involved. So it's something that's always needed because I think there's more on the table when you play in front of people. So that's why we play it.
Coach,
Sure.
Given what's happened at some other universities, and how imperative is it for you guys to get everything off the field right before you go on to the next season?
Forgive me, I'm not following the question.
I'm saying, like, given some other universities have had things go on off the field and haven't got it right, what do you guys need to do to make sure you get everything right before you advance into the next season?
We just allow processes to play out on the field. in our meeting rooms, try and play the best players, and that carries over outside football too.
And a quick follow-up. For you as a coach, the balance between, being serious with everything off the field and creating enthusiasm like you did today, how much of a challenge is that for you as the head coach?
No, there's no challenge with that. I've maintained the approach that I've always had. I'm going to coach our guys hard. I'm going to insist upon excellence, the best of our ability, and have fun with our football team. And I love our guys, and I always, coach to that level. So, one thing's over here, the other thing's over here. That's what I do.
Mark, over here, what we saw of Tristan Jackson today, how much of that is what you've seen throughout the spring? So, in other words, I'm guessing how much of that is real in terms of what it translates to the fall?
He's a great football player. He can really run. He's got size. He's got great hands. He's got to get tougher, so we can print that. Because that's what I'm always telling him. You got to get tougher. But he can play. He has a very unique skill set.
Mark, besides Tristan, who else looks different to you from last year? They look like a totally different player.
I think that David Dallas had a good spring thus far. He's playing very well at the one safety. Matt Morrissey's playing well. He's done some great things. A guy that we haven't talked about is Josiah Scott, number 22 out there. He's got a lot of Daquez Denard type intangibles that go along with his ability to run and ball skills. He's a very good tackler. So there's a lot of guys that I know I'm talking about defensive backs there. Of course I would. But when you look at Willikis, he's doing some good things. Andrew Dow's had a good spring. Joe Bocce's a playmaker for us. On the offensive line, Luke Campbell's solidified himself sort of as the right offensive tackle. He's gotten bigger. He's over 300 pounds now, and he's a good athlete. He can run. He's tough. Tyler Higbee's coming into his own. He's in his second year. He's healed from his broken leg and started the spring slowly, but I think he's transitioned. He's having a very strong spring. Our two running backs that played today obviously played a lot of game experience. Talked about the White House. Matt Sokol's having a good spring along with Noah Davis, who's a true freshman. I think Noah's up to 265. We've got some guys. Got some big guys that are firm and on either side of the ball, when you look out there, if you got a -1 play, you sort of look to say, well, was that a good defensive play or a bad offensive play? And it's a combination of things. As a head coach, you're sitting there, you're just satisfied if guys go hard.
Coach, I think we saw some good chemistry today with Lewerke and guys like Tristan and Cam. So do you think it's important for a young quarterback to grow and learn with young receivers?
No, I don't think that's all that crucial. I think the important thing is that everybody's on the same page. Sometimes out there we were not on the same page, quarterbacks and receivers, and that makes it very difficult to throw the football. But we're working towards that, and we had a lot of times that we were on the same page, and I thought we threw the ball pretty effectively. And there were guys near them, or they had to make plays on the ball. So from that standpoint, I thought it was positive.
Coach, in terms of Josiah, Coach Barnett was really excited about him as far as coming in early and what he saw. Tell me what you've seen from him, and what did you see from him today that makes you think that even despite his youth, he's going to be in the mix to be in that defensive backfield?
Well, I already talked about that a little bit. Guy's diligent. He's on time. He has great attention to detail. He can tackle. He's tough. He's got great ball skills. He can run. He's put himself in a position to start for us right now as a true freshman. And, that's not easy to do. So that's been a big positive for us.
Don't know if this is something you're willing to comment on, but after the game, L.J. Scott told the Associated Press wasn't in uniform but wasn't suspended or injured. Is that something you can address since he discussed it?
Well, he had surgeries. I could discuss that. He had surgeries at the end of the season, so he was out for the spring. I think he could have maybe. We're not going to play him this spring. He's to a point where he's physically maybe close to being ready, but he had surgeries.
You had at least two guys playing two ways today with Justin and Khalil Gaines. I guess, what did you see from them on both sides of the ball throughout the spring to warrant that? And are there any other guys that you're experimenting like that with?
Well, obviously, Justin played for us in the secondary last year. I felt like we needed to move him back to the offensive side of the ball to catch him back up so he was functional on the offensive side of the ball. So he spent probably 4 days of spring practice on the defensive side and then has gone the rest of the time on the offensive side. And so today we played him on defense, but he really hasn't played defense probably for about, 7 practices or so. But he has that ability. But we want to make sure that he's functional offensively. So he's meeting offensively. He's working with the offense, and he has not taken any snaps defensively, really, for that amount of time. As far as Khalil, same type of thing. He's played more a little bit of both sides of the ball. I just think he's a great athlete. He played quarterback in high school and can make you miss, and has made some dynamic plays for us out there on offense. Guys good?
Coach, leadership, it's something that's going to be very important both on the field and the locker room, and to be kind of your eyes and ears, your voice when you're not there. Maybe more important than most years, selecting the captains this year. Who are your alpha males? Who are the guys that are coming together to pick up that leadership role and go forward with it?
We have our unity council that we vote, and we have 12 guys, and I can't remember all 12 of the guys, but Brian Allen and Chris Fry obviously are 2 guys that we sent out there. They're seniors. We have a small senior class, 8 scholarship seniors. But I just visited Clemson yesterday, and they had 7 or 8. So that's a positive as well sometimes, because you look and you can see that you have a lot of good young players, and then another good group coming in. But Matt Sokol, I think, has been very good. I think I mentioned Morrissey. Just can't remember everybody right off the top of my head, but Gerald Holmes has been a guy. Andrew Dowell's a guy in that mix. Just trying to think across the board here is all the different people. Cole Chewins is the guy that has stepped forward in that capacity. I thought that the 12 that we have selected are very solid guys, very solid players, very solid people. And I think they'll do an outstanding job. But the thing about that council, we change it. We re-vote it. We re-vote it systematically, not all at once. We vote it a number of times, and we'll do that again a number of times, 2 more times for the season.
Will that council select the captains?
And that council from that council will come the captains, from that council.
Coach, when you consider how last season ended and then some of the stuff that's happened off the field, what do you feel like is the most important thing you need to fix?
Well, you got to make plays on the football field. You got to have great leadership. I think a player-led team is always going to be better than a coaches-led team. I do believe that, because at the end of the day, they got to stand on the field by themselves and play. At the end of the day, they stand off the field, and they have to handle themselves accordingly. What's the hardest thing to fix? Is that what you're asking? What's my focus? Well, there's always something that needs to be fixed. You critique everything that we've done. We went 12-2 and lost the playoff game, and things needed to be fixed. That's what we all do for a living. That's the world we're living in. So I can't point to any one thing to say this is the most important thing. I'm not going to do that right now. We've had that conversation. But I can't say that we're always going to address everything that we see as a fault of ours, and we're going to critique it, and we're going to try and change it and move forward. And we're going to recollect ourselves and go again. And then we're going to recollect ourselves and go again. But it's difficult to refine excellence in any respect, at any level, on the scoreboard, off the field, or in the classroom. But we'll keep striving for it, and we will do the very, very best we can.
Mark, like Joe Bocci, your first middle linebacker out there, what is kind of the competition level at that position, and is he kind of in the forefront there?
Yeah, Joe's a starting middle linebacker. I mean, he can run, benches nearly 400 pounds. He runs 4.5 something or other, long jumps 10 something, verticals 35 something. He's got all the attributes. He's tough. He's a very good thinker, and he diagnoses things, and he's quick. He's a quick reactor. So right now, I think he's the starting Mike linebacker. I do think Byron Bullis had a good spring. Shane Jones was hurt a little bit, but we have depth at that position. Thanks, guys.